Welcome back to our unit on ancient Greek history. In today's chapter, we're going to be looking at Alexander the Great's rise to power. And we're going to begin in the year 336 BC. Now, in 336 BC, Philip of Macedon had determined that he was going to invade Persia. He had consulted the oracles and determined that at a particular time he would be able to go and make that. So he had invited various rulers and people into Pella in order to make an offering and a sacrifice. As part of this, Philip decided to attend a wedding there in Pellis. It was the wedding between Alexander I of Epirus and Cleopatra of Macedon. This is not the same Cleopatra who was Philip's wife, by the way. It was a different one. It was a fairly common name. Now, while the king was entering into the theater, which was an amphitheater, an open area, one of his bodyguards, by the name of Pausanias of Orestis, pulled out a knife and stabs Philip in the back. Now, the assassin immediately turned and fled and tried to escape and reach his associates, which were outside of the town and had horses so that he could go get away. He was chased immediately by some of Alexander's bodyguards, and in doing so, it was reported that this Pausanias was tripped and was killed, perhaps by the bodyguards, at the bodyguards' hands. Now, of course, as you can imagine, this immediately cast suspicion on a number of people. The bodyguards come back and reported that Pausanias admitted that he had killed Philip for revenge, that he had essentially been hired by the Persians to kill him because of his plot to enter Persia and the long-standing animosity between Persia and Greece. This theory seems odd. It doesn't seem to justify as why Persia, the most powerful superpower in the world at the time, would be concerned about Philip of Macedon, a relatively small country, trying to invade. Others noted that Alexander stood to benefit by this because he could potentially become king. Even others looked at Olympias, who had been estranged from Philip of Macedon and had gone back home to her own father's court in order to avoid these things. Historians debate the real reason that Philip II was murdered, but they are unable to come to any kind of definitive decision regarding this murder. So after the assassination of his father, the elders and leaders of Macedonia got together and discussed what it was that they should do. Of course, it is difficult because the son of Alexander, the son of Philip II and Cleopatra, was too young in order to take the throne. Further, Alexander had proved himself in a number of ways. And so ultimately, the elders proclaimed Alexander to be the king. At the time that he ascended the throne, he was only 20 years old. Now, we think about the ways that upon being declared king, Alexander immediately turned to his Greek allies, or at least his father's Greek allies, and reminded them of their promise to assist Philip in moving into Asia. However, the Greek allies looked at Alexander, a 20-year-old man with limited military success and without the kind of experience that Philip of Macedon had. And as a result of this, they declined to go into Asia with him. Alexander heard that they had declined and decided that he would take an army and go on a progress from Macedonia down into Greece in order to convince these allies that they were with him. There are a number of famous battles that he did, but the most famous probably is with the city of Thebes. As he came to the city of Thebes, the people in Thebes declined to allow him and his soldiers to come into the city. As a result of that, he asked the army in order to destroy the city of Thebes, and they did. And this kind of set a precedent for Alexander, that he was kind to cities that accepted him, but brutal to those who rejected him or denied him. In any event, he went throughout all of Greece, talking to the various city-states and either convincing them to come with him or conquering them. And he was able to accomplish all of this except for in Sparta. Much like his father, Alexander decided that he would leave Sparta alone for now and gathered up the rest of his father's Greek allies in order to be prepared to crossing into Asia. Now, he also needed to put down some revolts just north of Macedonia, some things that had decided that with Philip II dying, that they could step away from the control that Philip II had. Nevertheless, Alexander was able to quietly and quickly secure the assistance of all of these territories, such that within 1 year, by 335 BC, Alexander had completely consolidated his hold on Macedonia, on nearly all of Greece, and on the northern territories that were adjacent to Macedonia. As a result of this, Alexander was ready to begin his march into Asia. Now, in this lesson, what we have looked at is the assassination of Philip of Macedon by one of his bodyguards. Alexander's bodyguards chased after and killed the assassin, leading to some speculation that Alexander was involved in a plot to murder his father. Suspicion also fell upon his mother, Olympia, as well as upon the Greeks themselves. Alexander, of course, blamed the Greeks and used this as an opportunity to gather support for a further attack into Persia. The Greek allies of Philip of Macedon were unwilling to follow such a young and untried ruler, so they rebelled, and Alexander had to take his army and go through Greece, shoring up and consolidating the power that he had. By 335 BC, Alexander had finished the consolidation and was ready to turn his attention to Persia. In our next chapter, we'll be looking at Alexander's invasion into Persia and the success that he had there.